I didn't particularly want to create this video or even this series, but I kind of have to. I've seen far too many people, both that I know and that I don't, on social media, who have been commenting on crypto courses and education that they've purchased on how to understand and get the best out of crypto. And it pisses me off. And the reason behind it is because if people are making enough money in crypto, why do they need to sell a course? My belief is people that sell information products don't actually make the money through what they teach. They make the money through the courses. And so if you're making enough money in crypto, you don't need to charge for education around how to make money in crypto. It's bullshit. I don't believe in it. I think the people that are selling it are opportunists. And I'm going to give everything that I know away for free here on these videos because I don't think you should have to pay for education. And I think I can give it away for free because education and information is one thing, but action and actually taking action on that information is a whole nother thing entirely. And I don't think many people will take action. So this video is really aimed at the people that want to understand crypto a bit better. If you're getting into this, if you're a complete noob, hopefully I can share with you some valuable insights. So let's just go back as to who am I? Why should you even listen to me? Well, you shouldn't really. Shouldn't listen to anyone, to be honest. No one has a clue what they're talking about, myself included. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm talking about. I have some things I've learned, some experiences I've learned that help me, and maybe they'll help you. But there is no such thing as an expert in the crypto space. It doesn't exist. This space is too new. Anyone that is puffing up their ego to, oh yeah, I'm an expert, oh, I'm great, I'm amazing. Yeah. Probably best to avoid those people. Those that are humble, that say, do you know what? I'm doing some stuff and it's working. I've done some other stuff and it hasn't worked. Here's the stuff that worked. Here's the stuff that didn't. You do you. You know, because when the crypto market goes up, everybody's an expert. Everybody knows the best things to do. I made all this money doing this and I made all this money doing that. Making money in crypto's easy. Anyone can make money in crypto. Keeping that money, keeping it is the challenge. Because most of the people who make the money are degenerative gamblers, respectfully, and they're going to lose it as quickly as they made it. So how do you cash out? How do you keep it? That's the other thing. How do you not get wrecked? How do you not get scammed? How do you not get hacked? How do you not get complacent? These are the things you need to consider. How do you do your research? How do you know if what you're doing is right or wrong? Like, there's some of the things I can guide you towards and I'll help you with. So, yeah, I got started in crypto before Bitcoin. So my kind of claim to fame, I guess, I used to work, and people are like, well, how does that, like, crypto is Bitcoin. No, crypto has been around for a long, long time. I was working in crypto back in 2001 when I was in the army. We used to use crypto to send communications over secure networks. No different to Enigma and how that worked. You know, it's all cryptographic technology. Now, what's happened is some very smart people or person, we don't know because they're anonymous, found a way to be able to disrupt the financial industry by using crypto and giving it an application as a store of wealth. And that's Bitcoin. And it's a phenomenal white paper. If you don't have a chance to read it, it's definitely worth looking into. But basically, Bitcoin has the opportunity to become the global currency. Because at the moment, when you look at currency, and I'm not going to get into opinions and beliefs and things like that, I'm only going to talk about the facts here. All right, because everyone's got opinions and everyone likes to share them, but you need to be able to verify facts. So when you look at money, fiat money, you look at the, and fiat money, by the way, is money that is printed and controlled by a government. So the pound sterling, the US dollar, the euro, you know, the peso, these are all fiat currencies. So when you look at a fiat currency, there is a central bank that prints that currency. There's a government that normally manages and enforces all of the legislation around it. And so there's some control. But when you look at fiat currency, it's declined over the years, not only because of inflation, but also because of purchasing power. What I mean by that is you could take a pound coin 50 years ago and buy something. That same pound coin today is going to buy you less. Yeah, because of purchasing power. And so if you just sit on money in a bank account and don't do anything with it and don't touch it, it loses approximately 15% per year every year without you even touching it. That's not including inflation or tax or anything else. That is just purely the money being less valuable year on year. And you can check this up. This is factually proven to be correct, that fiat currency, because they just keep printing more of it, it dilutes the currency as such. So at the moment, when we look at the global economy, and it's starting to shift in 2024, we're starting to see some movement. But up until now, the US dollar has always been the default currency for anything. If you do trading, if you do anything in terms of wanting to assess the value of something, you would do it against the US dollar. And that is mainly because America is the purchasing power of the world. Every country has its own export, has its own value that it provides, whether it's textiles, whether it's copper circuitry, whether it's whatever it might be. America are consumers. They consume, they buy, they purchase. And so without anyone to buy something, that thing that you're selling is worthless, right? So we need America to be able to do that. But does America need to be the central point of that equation? And a lot of countries are arguing no. And we've seen it in Russia, we've seen it in Saudi Arabia, where people are starting to remove the US dollar from these equations. So if you have a store of wealth and you're not using a default fiat currency, the US dollar, as that benchmark, then what is that benchmark? Well, that is where it is quite interesting to consider the potential of a currency that is digital, that has no borders, that can't be controlled by any one entity, that is fully decentralized, that is fully transparent, that serves in a way as Bitcoin does. This is why there's talk of Bitcoin potentially becoming the new store of wealth, and it becoming digital gold. Because unlike gold, if you look back to what happened in America, when you look at when Nixon took money off of the gold standard, and so it became illegal to hold gold bullion, and now all of a sudden money that used to be backed by gold is no longer backed by gold, and so money now can just be printed. Obviously, there are, economic risks to being able to just overprint, but we've seen it. We've seen it with COVID. We've seen it with all these situations where the money printers get turned on, inflation, dilution, all of that happens. And so Bitcoin is finite. There's a limited amount of it. It becomes harder to mine it. The more that you mine it, the harder it becomes. And also every 4 years, the rewards from mining Bitcoin halves. That's called a halving event. And we have one coming up shortly, which is why all these experts are going to start popping up. So Bitcoin is really kind of the top tier store of wealth inside crypto of all of the other things. But Bitcoin is very limited. It's clunky, it's slow, and it doesn't really do a lot other than provide a store of wealth. People inside the space, inside crypto, decided, well, actually, there's other things that we can do with crypto that go above and beyond what Bitcoin can do. And they were initially introduced via smart contracts. So a smart contract is simply a piece of computer code that automatically, without human intervention, obviously the human has to code it, but after it's been coded and audited and vetted and you can see it, when that code is running, it removes that human interaction from that process. So it makes it that it is more transparent and less able, hopefully, to be malicious in sense. Because if you can view the contract and you can read the code and see what it does, then you know what that computer program is doing. And so the ideology of transparency and being able to remove malicious actors from situations like voting, from anything like charitable work where you don't quite know where your money's going. So having this like transparent ledger and having these contracts that manage all of this is very exciting to remove a lot of what we've seen, greed and corruption. Okay, because that's the big problem that we have in the world today. And so we started to see these smart contracts, Ethereum being the main first smart contract, the what was known as a layer. We have a layer one, which is a network, a layer one network, it's a top level network where all of the transactions are processed. And every layer or every chain, they're called chains, has its own gas, which is used to pay for the transactions on that chain. So Ethereum started, and then we saw Ethereum was quite slow and cost a lot of money. So then we saw layer 2 solutions, which was a layer underneath. So you could roll up a lot of transactions and then just send one transaction from a layer 2 to a layer 1. The layer 1 would still hold the store of the immutable data, but the layer 2 could do a lot of the hard work a lot cheaper. So we saw networks like Polygon, Matic, and we saw other networks. And then we started to see other layer 1 chains competing with Ethereum. We saw Cardano, we saw AVAX, we've seen Solana. We've seen a lot of different chains start to spin up that do different things. AVAX and Solana are being kind of positioned towards gaming tokens. You've got Ethereum, which is kind of still the OG. You've got Cardano, which could potentially be more of the academic, governance-based white paper, that kind of level. But the reality is we don't have a clue. We don't know at this stage. We don't know what is going to be the MySpace of the layer 1s and the layer 2s and what's going to be the Facebook. We don't know. And it could be something that's not even been created yet. But there's been this fight over these tokens. And they got kind of dubbed as altcoins. And what an altcoin is it's alternative to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is your main coin, your main crypto coin. And then these alternative coins, these altcoins, are really what are being used to do these smart contracts and these transactions that allow you to do bigger and better things. And then what we've seen is on each of these networks, developers, depending on how the contracts are written and how the infrastructure works, we've seen these developers working on these different networks. Now, there was a network called Luna, and Terra Luna was a network that was very, very big in the last cycle. Unfortunately, what we saw, it went from being the 4th largest crypto asset overnight, zero. It was worthless. And so it really shook up the entire industry when a lot of people were building and putting their entire life's work into this, building on this network for it to just disappear overnight. And that was down to poor design, and also it was down to leadership issues, and we saw a lot of malicious actors and a lot of stuff where people were leveraging and gambling, often with other people's money. We saw that with a company known as FTX, which was an exchange where they were taking other people's money and gambling it. And yeah, now what we're starting to see is some of these actors are imprisoned. We're waiting on sentencing for that. There's a lot of manipulation. There is so much there is so much going on behind the scenes that manipulation is really one of the biggest factors at the moment in this space. There's a lot of speculation, and so there's a lot of money to be made, but there's also a lot of money to be lost. And I think what I really want to start with right now, after going through that introduction, is understanding that you got to really ask yourself the question: why are you in this space? You see, when I initially got into crypto and I bought Bitcoin back in 2014, the reason I bought Bitcoin wasn't to make money at the time. I didn't think Bitcoin was going to be valuable. I didn't know it was going to be like this big thing. I just liked the idea. I knew crypto, like I knew Bitcoin when it first came out. I just didn't touch it because it looked like a scam. Which is like anything, right? It's always easy in hindsight with the comfort of graphs to look at and history to be able to say, oh, I wish I'd done that, or I would have done that. No, putting your money up in that moment with something that you're unsure about is not an easy thing to do. So getting into a project is hard, and getting out is also hard. We'll talk about that. But ultimately, Bitcoin excited me because it was disrupting the financial system, which I didn't believe in. And so I really like the concept of the idea that the thought of what Bitcoin could be excited me. And then when I started to invest into other projects, I invested in them because I believed in these projects. I believed that these projects had opportunity. And yes, I thought I could make money on these projects, but ultimately I believed in the projects themselves and I wanted to support them. A bit like if you went onto Kickstarter, often you would give money to a Kickstarter campaign without anything in return. You might get like some credits or you might get a good feeling, but ultimately you're just donating to something because you believe in it. And that was kind of what I was doing to a degree. And then I started to make money and realized you could make money in crypto. And so you have to understand, why are you getting into this space? If you're getting into this space purely to make money and that's your only outcome, then you have to be very careful, because what happens is people that are only interested in making money, they'll take that money often at the detriment of, you ever heard of the expression biting the hand that feeds you? So if you're taking money out of a project because you want to make money and that project then can't survive because you haven't let it grow, you have to ask yourself, do you support the project? Do you want the project to do well? Do you not care about the project? And there's no right or wrong answer. You do you. But you have to understand, because ultimately the projects that are going to survive are the ones that have the people that believe in those projects and support those projects through good and bad times. And yes, you should always look to take some money off the table, but don't bite the hand that feeds you. Look to be able to not overexpose to something where you're not emotionally triggered every time the token price moves, where you can take some profit off the table, but do it in a respectful way. And I believe if we can educate ourselves as a community to do that, we won't be as much of a laughing stock, because everyone's aping into these meme coins and these shit coins because they're degenerate gamblers, and that will fade out because those people will get wrecked. And then the people who truly believe in this space, in the technology and what's being built and what can happen in the future, those people will shine through. And I'm hoping you're one of those people. So with that being said, that's what I'm going to focus on right now. So where do you get started, right? Well, you can get started in one of two ways. And again, there's a lot we're going to cover in these videos, and they're going to be relatively long. Not too long, but relatively long. So where do you get started? Well, initially, your first point of contact is going to be what's called a ramp. Okay, you have an on-ramp and an off-ramp. So when you're getting into crypto, you'll need an on-ramp. That basically just means you're going to convert fiat currency, government currency, your pounds, your dollars, into cryptocurrency. Normally in the form of a stable token. It doesn't have to be, but normally in the form of a stable token. Now, a stable token is something that mirrors a fiat currency. So, for example, you have the USD, the United States dollar, and then you have a stable token called the USDC. There's actually another one called USDT. There's multiple stable tokens, but the idea of USDC and USDT is that they are pegged to the price of the dollar. So $1 equals 1 USDC. It's almost like a transition when you're coming from the fiat system to the crypto system. It's a way of holding that currency. Now, the reason I tell you there are many different variations of this, there was once, and people believed in a stable token called UST. Okay, it was what was on the Luna network. And there was a really interesting system where the Luna token and the UST worked harmoniously to be able to create this network that people believed in. And so people had a lot of money in the UST, and it depegged. All right, UST was not worth $1 anymore. It was suddenly worth 80 cents and then 70 cents. People start to get scared. They tried to cash out. It drives it down further. And we saw what was effectively a bank run on that stable token, which it inevitably led to the whole crash of that Luna network. And so a stable token doesn't guarantee you stability. Okay, it's meant to be stable in the sense that it is meant to match that fiat currency. Now, here's the challenge. If you keep money in fiat, then it's going to depreciate year after year. If you move it into crypto, then there's a risk. If you leave it in a stable token, then anything could happen to that stable token. There's no guarantee it stays stable. So you have to, like, how do you know? How do you know where to put your money, what to do? Well, you don't. Nobody does. We all just hope for the best. You can do as much research as you want. We don't know what's going to happen at the end of the day. With regards to government legislations, bad actors, any of that. So it's kind of best that if you're going to have your money in stable tokens, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. So if you were to take, and I'm going to keep it simple for the purpose of this video, take two coins, USDC and USDT, okay? You would put, and maybe you've got, like, let's say you've got £1,000, you might put £500 on one and £500 in another, so you have both, okay? So that's one thing you can do. So you use this on-ramp, okay? The on-ramp is either going to be a third-party provider, and there's lots of payment providers out there, or it's going to be a centralized exchange. Now, a centralized exchange, they have relationships with payment providers where they can take your money and they can put it onto their platform. Binance, Crypto.com, Coinbase, Kraken. These are all examples of centralized exchanges. Exchanges that are working with government legislations to try and provide a service that allow you to put money in. Now, the problem at the moment with a lot of these services is banks, specifically in the UK, and I don't know what it's like for your country, but specifically in the UK, you cannot put money from your bank account right now into a centralized exchange in the UK. If you try to do it, you'll get a message from your bank that says, we have blocked this transaction for your own security. They don't want you to put money into crypto exchanges. They're protecting you. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole conspiracy side of, whether they're scared or not, or what's happening with fiat money and everything like that. That's up to you to think whatever you want. But at the end of the day, the facts are banks are preventing people from putting money into crypto. And this is the first lesson. You think the money in the bank is yours, but as a fact, it's not. When you deposit money into your bank account, you no longer own that money. The bank promises to pay it back to you, but it's no longer yours. It is the bank's. And the bank can do with it what they want. And what we often see is they lend that out. They will lend that money out. They are only required to keep, depending on the country you're in, but up to 10% of what you deposit, which is why if you go to draw out, and here's the thing, most people will never notice this because most people deal in small numbers and small amounts of money. If you go to the bank and you try and draw out £10 or $10 or $100 or $1,000, so what? No one cares. Like it's fine. And so most people live within that range. And so they never experience any problems. But if you want to test this, if you want to test this theory, go to the bank right now. And providing you've got the capital, ask them to draw out $250,000 today, right now, and see what happens. Most banks will decline. They'll say, sorry, you'll have to come back in 2 days. The reason is they have to get that money into the bank. They don't keep it in the bank. Why not? Because they've lent it out. What happens if everybody goes to the bank and tries to get their money at the same time? Well, we saw that in the UK. We saw it with Northern Rock. We saw what happened to the Lehman Brothers. We've seen what happens. Now, it's just a matter of time. This whole system's being held up, okay? And we can see this, which is why people are starting to move away from it. Now, the challenge you have is when the banks are gatekeepers and they're stopping you moving that money out, you have to ask yourself the question, why? And so, and also how? How do I get it in? Well, there are ways to do it, but it is difficult. So it means testing different banks, testing different services, trying different exchanges. Maybe if your bank doesn't let you put it into Binance, they will let you put it into crypto.com. Maybe they'll, you can try using like Revolut or Starling, or you can look at all these different banks. I've been through them all. It was brutally painful. It took me many weeks to get my money into crypto. Very easy to get it out. You can get it out instantly, but very difficult to get it in. And so, yeah, you need to understand that. So understanding the right networks to use, where to look, where to go. So I use Binance, Crypto.com. I use Ramp.network. These are all on-ramps that I use to be able to get money into my accounts. Now, what you need to understand about a centralized exchange is no different to a bank. If you have funds in a centralized exchange and the government puts an order to freeze that account, they're going to freeze your account. You won't be able to access your funds. It happens in bank accounts. It happens all over the place, and exchanges are no different. So your funds could be frozen. We saw it with FTX. Anyone that had money in FTX couldn't get their money out. It was frozen. And the whole bankruptcy thing, and they've lost their money. So if you simply just held money in FTX, you lost that money. And that was a centralized exchange. So a good example of what could go wrong. So then you have to consider yourself, well, okay, if I can't trust a centralized exchange, but I need to use them, where do I store my money? Well, this is what we're going to get to now. An exchange is an exchange. It is there to exchange, to change something from one thing to another. It is not a centralized storage solution, okay? It is a centralized exchange. So you exchange your tokens. You put your money into the exchange, you exchange it, and then you take your money out of the exchange. That's it. That's how you should think about this. And also considering different exchanges, they have what's called a spread. If I had $1,000 and I bought Bitcoin on Binance, and then I instantly sold that Bitcoin on Binance, I would have $950. Well, you might ask yourself why. Well, one, there's transaction fees, but they're small. So let's say you pay $1 in transaction fees. Well, where's the other $50 gone that I've lost? Well, that is because the price that Binance buys Bitcoin is different to the price that Binance sells Bitcoin. And if you look, that is known as the spread, the difference. And if you were to just constantly buy and sell on a platform back and forth instantly, you would eventually end up with nothing. And the spread, the platform would take those, they take that off the table. It's almost like hidden costs. And it's a bit cheeky because some like Crypto.com, their spreads are horrific. But here's a rule of thumb to consider. The more convenient the process, the worse the spread. And so Crypto.com is a very, very simple and easy process to use. Therefore, the spread is high. And so I would always consider that it is a cost that you can't avoid, but you're paying for convenience and you need to accept that. Also, it's a tax write-off, so you can consider that as well. But you need to be aware of that. Now, when you've exchanged your tokens, okay, into your crypto, you then need to think about storage. You should never store your crypto on a centralized exchange. You should only trade it on there. So then you need to think about, well, where do I store it? So this is where we're going to get into the conversation on wallets and decentralization, because you've got centralization, the centralized exchanges, and then you've got decentralization, okay, the decentralized exchanges. These are exchanges which operate on more of a peer-to-peer, a person-to-person, and they use smart contracts, which we talked about earlier, to manage this. And so I can send money to somebody else, they can send money to me using liquidity. So what will basically happen is you'll have person A that has United States, like USDC, and person B will have Bitcoin, okay? And person C sits in the middle, and they have both USDC and Bitcoin, and they put it together. And then what happens is you want to buy some Bitcoin, so you send it here, and it sends it out, and this liquidity takes a little fee as a result, and then person A gets from person B, it swaps, and the liquidity provider takes a little fee for the process. And so that's kind of a basic understanding of how decentralization works in the sense of decentralized finance. So then you have to consider, well, there are also networks you can use for decentralization. You've got Uniswap, you've got PancakeSwap. I don't know why they've got food names. SushiSwap. A lot of them have got food names. But there's all of these. You've got Jupiter Exchange. You've got, depending on what network you're on. Lots and lots of different options. And so now you've got to consider, well, which one of these do I use? And how do I trust it? And how do I even use it? Because before I created an account on a centralized exchange, you have a profile that you create. You go through KYC, you give them your driving license, your bank details, you give them your firstborn son and the blood of your last pet and everything in the, in between. And then they know everything about you, which they obviously submit to the government for, legal reasons, for anti-money laundering law and things like that. And then you are being tracked, but ultimately you are now in the system. And so to use a decentralized exchange, a lot of it's done anonymously. They don't know who you are. There's no KYC in a lot of these instances. And so what happens is you need to have a wallet set up. So let's just talk about wallets, because this is probably the most important thing you'll learn. And you need to know how this works. So I don't really like the term wallet. It's stuck. It's a term that's used. I think keychain would probably be better. Because when you're centralized, when you're in a centralized platform, and it's no different. Being on Binance is no different to being on Facebook. If you're on Facebook and you set up a group and you build your business around that group, and then one day Facebook says, we're shutting down your profile, you've abused our terms and conditions, and all of a sudden that group disappears, you've lost your business, you've lost everything. And so when you invest so much in another platform, that platform can quite easily just turn off the lights. Binance can do that. They can just freeze your account. And so you need to be aware of that. So for protection, because ultimately one of the biggest draws to crypto is protection. It's sovereign wealth. It's about being able to own your own assets and not have another entity in control of them. So in order to do that, you need to store your funds inside a wallet. Now, this is where the terminology confuses people. Because when you say, oh, a Web3 wallet or a digital wallet, storing funds in my wallet. Oh, so I've got this wallet and my funds are actually in it. No, the wallet doesn't exist. The wallet is just a user interface that you use to connect. Ultimately, nothing is ever stored within your wallet. Your wallet is used to access those smart contracts that we talked about so that you can get your funds in and out. And you can just transfer your funds from one smart contract to another. That's how this works. Even Bitcoin is a smart contract in essence. It is a digital ledger that allows you to see transparently all of the transactions that happen. Okay, and so when you look at this, and I don't want to go into too much depth because there's a lot of nuances as to what is a blockchain, what is distributed ledger technology, what is a smart contract. I'm not trying to overwhelm or confuse you with jargon and all this technical stuff. I'm trying to keep this basic. Okay, so there's a lot more depth that we can go into here, but this is like a beginner's intro to crypto. So with that being said, when you decide, well, okay, I want to have Bitcoin or I want to have Ethereum, you need to have a wallet, and that wallet is your ownership. And the way that you have access to that contract via that wallet is through what is called a seed phrase. A seed phrase. You might have heard this term before. It is a 12-word password, 12 very simple British words. So it could be cat, hat, dog, bag, umbrella, whatever. And it's going to be 12 words. Now, those 12 words, they make up your password, your seed phrase, your passkey, your private key, whatever you want to call it. It's your access. If anybody got hold of those 12 words in that order and they input into a user interface, they can access all of your crypto assets. And it's very, very important to understand that this is how most people get hacked or scammed. It is very difficult for people to be able to protect. And in fact, we've seen in the past, so many people have lost their crypto because they've lost their seed phrase. You see, when you have a centralized entity like Binance, if you lose your password, well, you just reach out to Binance. Hey, I've lost my password. And you reset it. But they hold your account. Now, because of sovereign wealth, you are responsible for your own account. Therefore, if you lose your keys, you lose your crypto. It becomes a lot more risky. And so you have to now consider, well, where do I store my password so it's safe? And how do I store it? Because there are a lot of people that want to try and get your password. And they'll do everything they can, from making you click on a malicious link on a website to getting you to share it through a screen share, or even telling it to someone or typing it in somewhere. There's many ways that people can get access to your seed phrase. So you have to consider security. Now, there are two different types of wallets. Okay, there is a hot wallet and a cold wallet. There is also what is known as a soft wallet and a hard wallet. Okay, so let me just talk about a soft and hard to start with, because that's the easiest, and then we'll talk about hot and cold. So a soft wallet is a digital wallet, and a hard wallet is a physical wallet. What do I mean by that? Well, here are two hard wallets right here. This is a Trezor, and this is a Ledger. These are physical where I would have to type in a password or a PIN number into this device. This is a hard wallet. Okay, this is another one. It's a different design. This is another hard wallet. So these hard wallets, they actually create a false sense of security, because you believe that unless somebody has this, hey, if someone doesn't have this device, they can't access my crypto, right? Wrong. If I got the seed phrase for this wallet and I put it into a soft wallet, I can import that and still access all of your crypto without needing that hard wallet. So a hard wallet does have benefits, but not the ones you think. The benefit of having a hard wallet is that when you have your seed phrase is delivered on this, and when you type it in on this. If you do that, your seed phrase never enters your computer. Therefore, there is no digital footprint of your seed phrase on a computer, therefore making it less available for people to be able to steal it. That is one of the benefits of a hardware wallet. Trezor, however, weirdly, allow you to put your seed phrase or put your passphrase into a browser. So you can go in and you can type it in. So you have to be aware. Now, if somebody did get hold of your seed phrase, like on a Ledger, so this has a 12-word seed phrase. If somebody got hold of my my seed phrase off of this, then they could wipe this and take all of my assets, and they wouldn't need this device, which is why I don't like using it. I believe security should be multifaceted and it should have layers. And that is why I use the Trezor. The reason that I like the Trezor is because it allows you to have a 13th word within your seed phrase, known as a hidden passphrase. So you will have your 12 words that you would create from your wallet, and then Trezor allows you to have a 13th word. And so a way to have an additional layer of security is your passphrase is secure, but then your 13th word is something that nobody knows, only you know. And what you can do is create multiple wallets. You can have as many wallets as you want. So, you know, I might have my 12 password, my seed phrase, my 12 keywords, and then my 13th word might be noobs. And I might have noobs 1, noobs 2, noobs 3 for different wallets. Maybe I have noobs A1, noobs B2, noobs C3. I'm just giving you a structure and an idea. You do what you do, right? But just the best thing is just not to tell anyone. The best form of security is people not knowing about it. So creating a structured system that allows you to have multiple different wallets to store funds in different wallets, each one with a different password, is an additional layer of security. And that is why I like using the Trezor wallet. So that is the difference between a hard and a soft wallet. You've then got a hot and a cold wallet. Well, a hot wallet is basically a wallet that is connected to the internet. That's it. If it's connected to the internet, it's a hot wallet. A cold wallet is a wallet that is stored away from the internet. So for example, if you wrote your seed phrase down on a piece of paper, that is a cold wallet because you can't connect a piece of paper to the internet. It's a cold wallet. If you store it in a notepad on your computer and your computer is connected to the internet, that's known as a hot wallet because your seed phrase is on a computer connected to the internet. So cold, hard is typically best, followed by hard, hot, followed by, obviously, you know, for security, you need to consider those things. Hopefully that makes sense. So understanding security. Now, before you even start by installing a wallet or looking at different wallets, you need antivirus software. You need, I recommend AVG. I recommend Malwarebytes by doing some scans on your computer to make sure there's nothing malicious on your computer. If you want to be absolutely super hyper critically secure and you want to, you know, you want to take it to the next level, then this is what I do and what I recommend. You have a laptop. It can be a cheap laptop. Doesn't have to be anything crazy, but you have a laptop. You format that laptop. Okay, this is crypto preparation. If you really want to be secure, all right, you format that laptop. So you have a cheap laptop. You format that laptop. You wipe it clean. You make sure there's nothing on that laptop. You install a clean operating system onto that laptop, and that's it. You do not install email. You do not install social media. You do not go clicking on websites. You don't log into anything. That laptop is used for trading crypto, and that is it. So you would install onto it a user interface like MetaMask or whatever wallet you're using. So there's MetaMask, which people use. There's also Phantom Wallet, which people use. Lots of different wallets that you can use, but ultimately they're some of the main ones. So MetaMask and Phantom are the two that I use. So you would install those. Here's the other thing. That laptop would never, ever connect to the Wi-Fi. In fact, you can rip the Wi-Fi out of that laptop. You would not use it. That laptop is only ever used with an Ethernet cable because hijacking on Wi-Fi signals is possible and data over Wi-Fi. So you need to protect it. So you've got your VPN set up. You've got your antivirus software set up. You've got a brand new operating system set up. You're connected via Ethernet to your private home network. You would never, ever connect this to a hotel or a public Wi-Fi. Those are all possible ways for you to get wrecked from people that can steal your data. So you're using your Trezor with your hard wallet, with your 13th password, and you're doing it in a way that is only connected. You connect it to the Ethernet, you do what you need to do, then you disconnect it, and that is it. That laptop stays in a safe, it is secure. And your seed phrase stays somewhere else in another location. Now, one of the things you can look at with your seed phrase is what I personally recommend is you write it down. You laminate the paper, you cut the paper in half, so you have two halves of your seed phrase. That's known as Shamer's secret sharing. You can look that up on Google. And then one part gets stored in one location and one part gets stored in another location. That way, even if someone got half of your seed phrase, they can't do anything with it. They need both halves. And if, God forbid, someone put you at gunpoint and was like, give me your seed phrase, well, you can give them your seed phrase and you keep a little bit of crypto in your main wallet. Just a little bit, enough for them to be able to steal from you. but not anything from your hidden wallets. All of your hidden wallets is what pertains to all of your wealth. There's a lot to take in there, but this is all stuff that you can do to be secure, to look after yourself, and what I recommend, okay? So now that you've got your air-gapped laptop that is only used for crypto and nothing else, because if you use it for email or if you go on social media, you might click on malicious links, which is why we don't do it. Now, maybe you're not in a position to do that. Also, phones. I don't use crypto on my phone. I just use it on when I'm trading and I'm using my wallet. I just use it on my my laptop. That's it. So that's when I'm doing my main trading. Now, obviously, for convenience, you want to be able to log into stuff on a daily basis. So there's nothing wrong with having a hot wallet. There's nothing wrong with having a little bit of funds in a wallet that you can access that isn't secured, that you did just set up on a computer. That is, you know, there's a basic level of security. You don't want it to get wrecked, but that you can use daily. So having multiple wallets is good. You've got your main source of wealth, which is like Fort Knox, right? You protect it with your life. You've also got to consider legacy. What happens if you die? How do people find out? Like, you can keep it so secure, but if you keep it so secure that not even your loved ones can access it, so then you have to think about, well, okay, how do I deal with that? Well, you never ever take a picture of your seed phrase. You never type it into a computer. You never write it down. Don't keep it on iCloud. Don't keep it in Notes. Don't keep it in Google. Don't keep it in LastPass. Anything like that. Again, anything where it can be compromised, you've got to be careful with that, okay? This is your wealth at the end of the day that we're talking about. So now we've talked about wealth, about wallets and that. You understand that MetaMask and Phantom Wallet, they're just user interfaces. You can take it is your seed phrase. Your seed phrase is the key that allows you to connect to the network to instigate a transfer between A and B. Okay? Nothing's stored in the wallet. Nothing's held in the wallet. The wallet is just a term. It's just a word. So again, it's why I like the word keychain. It makes a lot more sense. So now we understand that. You can protect yourself a little bit more. So then what you would do is you would use your on-ramp. You would send your money from your on-ramp into your centralized exchange. You would then, once you've done your exchange, you would then send it from the centralized exchange to your wallet, your decentralized wallet that you have your own personal keys for. Then it's safe, okay? Always do a test transaction. So if you're sending a large amount of money, send $1 first or $10 first. Once that's done and it's gone through successfully, then send the rest. Just don't send it. If you're not sure what you're doing, always do a test transaction. And then don't change anything. Like I've seen before, people do a test transaction and then they've gone, oh, I did a test transaction that went through, but then I sent it over a different network because it was cheaper fees. No, if you do a test transaction, then do the main transaction the same way. I've seen it all. And so, okay, so now that you've secured yourself, you've got your wallet, you can transfer your funds in and out. Now we need to look at, well, okay, well, what the hell do I buy? Well, what crypto do I buy? How do I know where to start, where to look, what to do, what's good, what's not? How am I going to make money? Well, making money's easy, as I said. Keeping money's hard. Ultimately, buy low, sell high, right? That's kind of the key. But you need to consider liquidity. Are you coming in for $10, $100, $1,000, or $1 million? You know, it changes the game. If you're coming in for a lot of money, and what I mean by a lot of money is if the market cap of what you're buying into is low and it doesn't have a lot of liquidity, then you might be able to buy in, but you're going to move the needle. So you might see the price jump as a result, and you might struggle to cash out. So you need to understand liquidity. And that's why centralized exchanges always have a lot of liquidity. But normally, you know, those tokens don't always do the biggest and best things. So you need to understand Bitcoin being the main store of wealth. That's kind of where you want to aim up. You want to aim for all of your wealth to be in Bitcoin. That's the goal. But Bitcoin sometimes is a bit slow. It's still better than traditional finance, but it's a bit slow. So we use altcoins and other coins to be able to accelerate our wealth to acquire more Bitcoin. That's the goal. And you should never look to sell your Bitcoin. Never sell it. Leverage it if you want to. Take a loan out against it. Use it as a house. You know, you wouldn't sell your house. Oh, I need some money. I'm going to sell my house. No, you'd release equity in your house. You take a loan out against your house to release equity to give you cash. Do the same with Bitcoin. All right, you never sell your Bitcoin. That is your generational wealth that you'll pass down and you'll keep forever. That is you. That is what you're worth at the end of the day, financially. And so you don't ever want to sell it. So the idea is always to be able to accumulate more Bitcoin. So then we're looking at how do we do it quicker. So whilst Bitcoin might go up 5%, Ethereum might go up 10%. So surely it's better to hold some Ethereum, let it go up 10%, and then swap it into Bitcoin, right? That would make sense. But then what if Bitcoin goes down? Well, maybe you need it in USDC, because if it's in USDC, that stays at £1. So then Bitcoin drops, you buy in cheaper, it goes back up again, you've got more Bitcoin, right? Like people that bought Bitcoin at 60,000 before, Bitcoin dropped down to 30,000. If you sold it at the top and bought it at the bottom, you'd have twice as much Bitcoin. So like there's a lot of things you need to consider, and there's a lot to go into. I can't tell you the answers because nobody knows. But we can look at how do you identify different projects? How do you understand what's a good project to buy into? How to do your due diligence? How to protect yourself? How to diversify risk? One of the mistakes I made before with Luna, I use that as an example, is I had Luna as a token, as the network token, and then I had Anchor, and I had UST. And so I had 3 different tokens that were on the same network, and I was too exposed into one network, because if Luna crashed, then Anchor and UST also crashed. So sometimes it's about not having, like, you don't want all of your wealth on one network, because if that one network goes down, you might lose everything. And we saw that with Luna. So you might have something on Solana, you might have something on AVAX, you might have something on Ethereum. You know, you're going to be spread about. So you're going to have a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit there, and you allocate. All right, I'll put 5% here, 10% there. And I'm going to do a separate video, and we're going to talk about all of that. You won't be watching me. The next video will be on the screen, and I'll talk about how to set up a tracker portfolio, how to be able to look at assets, how to be able to find good things to track. And we'll talk about all of that in the next video, right? This is like this first hour is really just about the basics and getting to understand the basics and talking about crypto and security and things like that. The second hour is really going to be about diving into this is how you do it. All right. So this is why you're doing it, what to do and how to do it and why you're doing it and in terms of a theory. And then the video that I do, the second part of this will be practical, and we'll go through that. So, all right. Hopefully this has been useful. Look, we're coming up to the Bitcoin halving. This is predominantly in history a milestone, because after the Bitcoin halving, Bitcoin tends to go up in value. And then everything else kind of gets dragged up with Bitcoin. There's no guarantee that's going to happen this time. There's no guarantee it's going to happen anytime. But if history is anything to go by, we might see it again. The reason we're in an opportunity right now that we haven't seen before is because normally when you get situations where there's a lot of money to be made, institutions will normally control the narrative. At the moment, because of government legislation or lack of, institutions have not been able to partake. They're only just starting to get involved now through Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum ETFs, and they're only starting to now get some exposure to these markets. But ultimately, they've been looking at things like Grayscale, they've been looking at these other entities to be able to get into the market, but they haven't been able to. So at the moment, it's just been early adopters, degenerate gamblers, and some retail. All right, and most of the time, retail is the ones that are getting wrecked because smart money is kind of just abusing them. But when institutional money comes in, we're going to see gates open to a level that we've not seen before. So you have an opportunity right now to get in at a stage where there is a lot of potential. All right, if you look at what's happening in the marketplace right now, you can see Bitcoin. When you don't ever expect to see Bitcoin go down to $100 again. You don't expect to see it go down to $1,000. Some people don't ever expect it to go down to 10,000. Like those days are gone. Like if you didn't buy it, like when I first bought my Bitcoin, I bought it at $400 back in 2014. No one ever expects to buy Bitcoin at $400. And by the way, if I told you today, hey, you can buy Bitcoin at $400 and you know what you know now, you'd have sold your house and your firstborn child just to be able to buy it, right? Because we know. But at the time, we didn't know back then. And also, you'd have to hold it for a long period of time. If you're going to invest, an investment, personally for me, is 5 to 10 years minimum. Minimum. If you are putting money into a project for less than 5 years, then you are gambling. And that's okay. If you're gambling, that's okay. Just understand that's what it is. It's speculation, it's gambling. And there's a difference between being a gambler and being a degenerative gambler. A degenerative gambler will just bet on all of the meme coins and all of the trash and the crap and the stuff at the bottom of the barrel, hoping something pumps up. They'll shill and they'll promote this stuff with absolutely, a lot of times you see these people, they'll promote something and they'll have sold it already. They're pumping it on social media to sell it with no interest in you. Like they're telling you to buy it and you're buying it. You're their exit liquidity. They're already leaving. Crypto Banter is a show that does this all the time. They've been proven to do this. If you look at their wallets and their transactions, they don't align with their messaging they put out. And so a lot of these influencers, a lot of these courses, a lot of these places where they tell you to buy stuff, when you buy it, they're selling it. Just be aware. This is why I don't believe in, one, telling people what to do, and two, buying into these courses. You don't need it. Everything I've kind of given you right now should be enough to give you the foundation. If you need more in-depth help, if you need more guidance, then in the comments of this video, ask your questions. I read every single comment. I'm not going to answer every single comment because some comments don't need an answer. But if it is a genuine question that needs an answer, I promise you I will answer it, okay? And then if there's enough people asking the same question, I will do another video covering that specific topic. Right, that's how this is going to work. So this initial video is really just to set the foundations, to set the framework, the groundwork. The second video is going to be more of a hands-on. Here's how you set up a wallet. Here's how you connect to an exchange. Here's how you make a transaction. We will go through all of that, and I'll do it all on a completely blank slate so you can see. And then any other videos that come as a result of this, and we'll put it into a playlist, will be those questions that I answer that you've got. So hopefully this has been useful. We said we're going to do an hour. I wasn't going to do more than an hour today. I like to value your time and appreciate you, which is why we've kept it to 50 minutes. So I'm going to leave it there. I think we've covered all of the basics. Please stay safe out there. If you're going to invest, invest wisely. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. And remember, if it's not your keys, it's not your crypto. I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.